Good.
Hello, Buckeye fans. Welcome to, we'll call it an abbreviated Bucknuts happy hour. I have no beer. Steve, you have no beer. I did have,
None yet.
well, yes, I did have a beer at the airport and on the plane, which they charge me for. They usually don't do that.
That sucks.
Yeah, so, but we got here, and as you can see, we are live from Wrigley Field. If you're watching this live, you can see behind us the stadium and the field in which the Buckeyes will play on tomorrow. Steve just got his Babe Ruth picture taken as he posed and pointed out to the scoreboard out there. Steve, there's been a lot of talk this week about the field, the walls, all that stuff. What do you make now that as you look out on this, what do you think this will be like tomorrow?
Well, right here you see is the cutout for home plate, and it looks like it's perfectly fine to me. It looks like they could play football on it. Now, the test will be tomorrow once the game gets going, whether or not the players can maintain their footing or not. But I'm not overly concerned about the field as I sit here right now and look at it. It looks like it's taken pretty good, and looks to be in great shape right now. So we'll see how they tear it up during warm-ups and go from there. I think another thing you have to think about, and I'll just tilt the camera really quickly, carefully, is these out of bounds right here. As you can see down there, just outside the dotted line is the rail, for the lower deck seating. So it's and that right there is where the third base dugout would ordinarily be. When they played here in 2010, they didn't take the dugout out. For the last two games they played here, and now this one, they were able to remove the dugout from the third base side right there and extend the field a little bit farther. So they've got a little bit more room to work with. But being here, I don't see where there's going to be any real problems, particularly if Ohio State gets up 20-1 to nothing and just run the ball and run crossing routes and don't run the go route. Everything will be fine.
Yeah, and I think too, there are football stadiums that have the wall pretty close.
Yeah,
I mean,
Ohio State in the closed end, as you go down there before it circles around, it's got those areas that are very close to the sideline. The G. Scott play against Michigan, where he got the personal foul, all happened like right down there out of bounds, right where that wall is. So that'll give you an indication that it is a little close. In some places, it's definitely close here, but I think it'll be okay.
yeah, like Memorial Stadium for Nebraska, it's very tight. Even Cowboys AT&T Stadium, where they have some of those luxury seats.
Yeah, right off the back.
Yeah, it's literally right in the end zone. So
Yeah.
I'm not nearly as worried about it, like you said, as some people are. I think it will go over fine. We've seen this be played before without any injuries. Well, let's talk about on the field. Obviously, Northwestern is a 4-touchdown underdog in this. Is there any way you see this game being a close contest? And you can see our predictions. They're up on Bucknuts.
Well, Pat, I would say, obviously, Northwestern was off last week, so they should be rested and ready to go. And they defeated Purdue 26-20 in overtime in their last game 2 weeks ago, whereas Ohio State has played three pretty good games since the Oregon game. Nebraska, they won the game. Penn State was an outstanding win. And then obviously last week, 45-0 against Purdue. They carried over the momentum, which is what you wanted to see. And that's what you want to see here tomorrow against a Northwestern team. It's kind of middle of the road. They had one kind of breakthrough game where they beat Maryland 37-13 on the road. Otherwise, their offense has been terrible. 13 points against Miami, 5 points on the road at Wisconsin, 3 points on the road, or rather 5 points on the road at Washington, 3 points on the road at Wisconsin, 14 points against Iowa. They don't score many points. So to me, I look at it that if Ohio State's defense continues to play the way that they're playing right now, they should not have a chance to hang with Ohio State over 4 quarters in this game. I just don't know how it happens. I just don't think they hang with Ohio State. Ohio State's got too many playmakers, and it's time for Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. How
Coming low.
poignant would it be if Carnell Tate catches a touchdown pass here in his hometown of Chicago? He went to Marist High School here in Chicago. He obviously finished up his last year of high school at
3 years. 3 years now.
3 years at IMG Academy down in Florida. So, it would be great given his story if he's able to finish and get a touchdown here in his hometown.
Yeah, we've seen Carnell come on a little bit. I wanted to ask you about him, but first, somebody mentioned the bleachers. I was just thinking, if you are a fan, like literally right here are the seats. There's not a better way to watch your team from field level. I mean, most football stadiums, you're up pretty high. This will be, for a fan, if you get close to the field, this will be a pretty unique experience. But yes, Carnell Tate, I'll have a story on the site here in a little bit about Carnell and kind of his homecoming. He's kind of had an up and down year, kind of lost in the Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka wide receiver conversation, but he's had a few big games, a few big catches, as you mentioned. The homecoming narrative would certainly make for a fun story for him. What do you make of Carnell just as we stand in his hometown? Obviously a talented receiver, but he's playing in a room of very talented receivers.
Yeah, I think it's hard when you're trying to establish the run and get the ball to Egbuka and get the ball to a phenom like Jeremiah Smith. Carnell Tate has had to kind of pick and choose his spots in his areas where he can get in and make plays. And really, we've seen him do more and more of that as the season has gone along. So I've been impressed with his maturation, his development, and I just want to see him continue to make those important plays. Like against Penn State, he had several huge catches in that game to help them win that game. And so his career is kind of on the uptick right now. And you want to see that continue in this game. Egbuka, he's rewriting the record book for receiving. Jeremiah Smith rewriting it for freshman receivers. As we know, he has the record for catches, receptions, and touchdowns. Travion Henderson is moving up the list in terms of the rushing yards and the rushing touchdowns at Ohio State as well. So, guys that are accomplished not only this year but over a multi-year Ohio State career, we're seeing a lot of outstanding players.
It's nice when you get talented players that want to stay 4 years. And I think NIL obviously changes the game. The fact that Ohio State hasn't beaten Michigan, hasn't won anything in the last 3 years. But having guys like Henderson and Egbuka come back and make a impact in their senior year, climb up those record books that it's awesome if you can do it in 3 years, but most guys can't because of the history of Ohio State.
Yeah.
So great to see that. We had somebody ask about the wind here. It's not very windy right now. I know tomorrow's expected to be somewhere between like 10 and 15 miles an hour. Do you think that will have any impact in a stadium like this?
What's funny is, if you gamble and you hear that the wind is blowing out, you play the over because the home runs are going to fly out of this place. Just fly out of here. If the wind is blowing in for a baseball game, it's very difficult to hit one out here. I think the impact, we're about a mile west of Lake Michigan, and sometimes there will be wind that comes in off Lake Michigan. I think when we get here tomorrow, you just have to see which way the fronts are moving and which way the wind is going. There are ribbons on the goalpost back there, and they're hardly moving right now, which would indicate to me that a kicked ball is going to ring true right now. But tomorrow it's hard to tell what the weather will be here tomorrow. I guess get up tomorrow and look at the weather and see what the wind forecast is. But it could play havoc with a thrown ball or a kicked ball here, no question about it. Punting, and we were here 2 years ago in the game at Northwestern in October. Terrible rain, as well as really probably the worst windstorm I've ever seen a game played in. The winds were steady at about 30 miles per hour, and there were gusts 50 and 60 miles per hour recorded at the O'Hare Airport, which is about 15 miles both from Northwestern and from here. So that was a very rough day, and you had to basically put your big boy pants on and go out and run the football that day. And Ohio State, heavily favored against a bad Northwestern team that only won like one game, I think, that year. Won the game 21-7. So you look at it, I just think that I don't think it'll be that quite severe tomorrow. But we are having this is carte blanche here at Wrigley Field today. We are on the playing field here at Wrigley Field, which is kind of crazy. You watch the games played here growing up, and to be here covering a football game, pretty exciting.
Yeah, this is my first time in here. I talked about this earlier in the week, but I have watched games from the bars across the street. I have never been in this stadium, so pretty cool to be here. And yes, this is not the environment of 2 years ago up in Evanston.
No.
This is not the same crazy weather.
Much different.
You talked about the defense. Northwestern's offense, A.J. Henning, Cam Porter, those are probably the names to know. The quarterback, a redshirt sophomore. Anybody who might scare Ohio State in your eyes?
I think Cam
Porter,
the running. He's a running back, correct? Yeah, he's the running back. He's having a really good year. He's over 500 yards rushing. He's doing well. Jack Bausch, their quarterback, has only thrown 4 interceptions this season, and that's a pretty low number for a full season. So I look at it and I see that, again, Northwestern has struggled to score points. They only scored 26 points in overtime, 20 points in regulation against Purdue, a team Ohio State just scored 45 against. So, again, you can't really compare the scores. You don't get a whole heck of a lot out of that. But Northwestern is in the 100s in scoring offense, rushing offense, total offense, and passing offense, all 4 disciplines. They are in the bottom 30 or 40 in the FBS ranks in any way you measure offense. Where they are fantastic is rushing defense. They are in the top 20 nationally in rushing defense, only giving up about right around 90 yards a game rushing. And Ohio State's been outstanding running the ball the last 2 weeks. They were under 200 both weeks, right around 170 against Penn State and Purdue. So we'll see if they can establish the run here tomorrow against a really good Wisconsin run defense. And of course, the Buckeyes will want to do that to set up the pass and get Will Howard going. The big thing with Will Howard, as I always like to say, you got to withstand his 2 galactically colossal mess-ups, and yet last week he didn't have those. He jumped from the first part, the mess-ups, right to playing great. So to me, that's what Ryan Day and Chip Kelly are challenging Will Howard to go out tomorrow and not be letter perfect, but just stay away from those costly mistakes.
Yeah, I saw a question about the grass area behind us. One bench will be on this side, one bench on the other, which in the past they've done both teams on the same side of the field. That will not be the case here. There will not be just open space for players to walk around, as far as I can understand it. And I saw another question about the dugout at halftime. I believe the Buckeyes will be out in outfield. In terms of privacy, I don't know how much will be there, but there won't be many people around, so I don't imagine.
It's not a public space. The bullpen is enclosed out there behind the right field wall, and I think that they are going there because to get to their locker room, you may have to go down and then back up. I don't know, but apparently it's quite a traipse to get from one to the other. So with all those people, probably narrow hallways.
Yeah. And big
humans, just as simple for them to go to that one spot over there, and it's under the stands. I assume there's heat in there and restrooms and whatever, so they'll be fine at halftime. They're already made the plans to be there. So, yeah.
You talked about the run game. For me, that's going to be a key tomorrow. If there's wind, if there's weather, you can run the ball. And you mentioned Northwestern's been good against the run, though I don't think they've faced a rushing attack quite like this. Getting that on track early and often, I don't think you want to have those issues. I don't want to see short yardage problems against this team. I think establishing Travion Henderson, establishing Quinshon Judkins, we saw them on the field together multiple times last week, and I would like to see some more of that package. You don't show everything. You can save some things out of that for down the line. But I think more of that, because I do think it can be effective. Teams having to defend both of those guys is problematic. I would like, in those short yardage, if they get down here like they did after the blocked punt last week, let Will Howard just go. Don't screw around with some of the other.
Let Will cook.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it's the quarterback sneak, some of those quarterback runs. I mean, think about the play they ran against Penn State. Travion Henderson is Will Howard's lead blocker. Yes, Will Howard fumbles the ball. It doesn't end in a touchdown. But if they ran that from the 8-yard line last week, they're probably in on first down, and you don't have to mess around with second, third, and fourth down. So I think that's going to be key. Steve, I don't want to get out of here, and we're doing an abbreviated version because we don't have a ton of time here of the Bucknuts Happy Hour. We'll be back more normal next week against Indiana, but big basketball game.
Yeah.
Ohio State is at Texas A&M. I know we're here. I know we're talking football, but 2 top 25 teams. You have been all over this. What do you see out of this game?
Well, this is going to be an outstanding game tonight. It opened with Texas A&M as a 3-point favorite. The line has gone up to 6 points now. Texas A&M is favored. Texas A&M lost its opening game at Central Florida by 3 points last week. The Buckeyes obviously took care of Texas, a top 25 team out in Vegas. Now they're on the road at Reed Arena, College Station, Texas. They'll have a crowd of about 12,000 there for the game. And obviously last year, Texas A&M came to Columbus, defeated Ohio State 73-66. Texas A&M reached the second round of the NCAA tournament last year, lost to Houston in overtime. They got 3 starters back from that team. The guy who, the straw that stirs the drink, is their all-conference player, Wade Taylor IV, their point guard. And the matchup between he and Bruce Thornton is going to be something. Thornton had 24 points last year against Texas A&M. Wade Taylor IV had 21 points. And they have another guy, Henry Coleman, who's back from last year's team, who had 21 points. He's a big, burly forward. What I would be concerned about if I'm Ohio State is the veteran strength inside of their big men against Bradshaw and Stewart. They were both in foul trouble against Texas. Bradshaw, not the strongest guy, even though he is 7'1", he's going to change some shots inside. But Texas also took him to the woodshed a couple times down in the low post. So he's got to play big, and they absolutely have to keep Texas A&M off the offensive glass because that's where they live and die. I think Ohio State's got more offensive firepower than Texas A&M. When Texas A&M plays great defense and rebounds the basketball, they're playing at home. I picked Ohio State like a 4-point win, 76-72, something like that. But we'll see how it plays out tonight. 9 o'clock Eastern time. It's on the SEC network, so you're going to have to search for it. In Columbus, most Spectrum people, I think, are able to get it. I think it's 611 on DirecTV. Dish has it as well. You're going to have to search it out. It's not on ESPN, not on ESPN2, not on ESPNU. It's on SEC Network, a channel none of you have ever tuned into other than to watch Feinbaum rant in the afternoon. But, yeah, that's where you're going to find it.
Just while we're talking Buckeye basketball, we haven't done that much on this show. Just your general thoughts on this team. I know it's only been 2 games so far this year, but what do you make of this group? What can they do under Jake Diebler first year?
Well, what I like is they're playing 10 guys, and they're getting contributions from 8, 9, 10 guys. So let's say John Mobley doesn't have a night where he's 4 and 5 on his 3-point shooting.
But why?
Yeah.
He's near perfect.
He made the first 7 shots of his college career from behind the 3-point arc, and then he missed one, and Tony Berteman was sitting right next to me, and I missed it. Tony's sitting right up there. I said, well, what happened? He goes, he finally hit the rim. Because all the rest of them had been nothing but net. But at any rate, I look at it that they've got a lot of weapons and a lot of guys. Devin Royal had a huge game the first time around against Texas. Mobley, I think what you have are veteran players who are deferring to Mobley, which is a refreshing way to look at it, that the freshman can take the shots and no one's resentful about it. Bruce Thornton, he's the straw that stirs the drink on the Ohio State side. And the promise of Sean Stewart and Aaron Bradshaw, we are seeing them at point A. Come back and see me in February, March when they get to point B, and we'll see how effective they are in matchup-type games like this one. Neither of them played that well against Texas. They need those guys tonight to do something, anything, play great defense, rebound the ball at the very least. Those are things that if the shots aren't falling, you can still play defense and rebound, and they're going to need those guys to do that tonight and every night.
All right, we're going to wrap it up from here. We've got some more stuff to do. We've got the basketball game tonight.
What was your pick on this game?
A lot to a little. I think I gave Northwestern something like 42-6 or something along those lines. I don't expect this to be competitive. I think this team is dialed in. I think if there was going to be a letdown, it was last week after the Penn State game. I think coming on the road, playing in a place like this will have their attention. And then obviously you've got the 2 games next week, or the next 2 weeks. I don't think this team looks ahead to Indiana, and certainly not 2 weeks down the road for Michigan. So I'm not overly concerned about this game. I think we've seen what we've needed to see from the Buckeyes these last few weeks. So I'm pretty sold on this team as you are in the middle of November now.
I went 45-13. I just see a team that's determined. And as I said yesterday in my weekly spot on Canton Radio, we are in for a lot of fun here the next 2 weeks with Indiana and Michigan, both coming to Ohio Stadium. The noon start sucks next week. What can we say about that? That should be a 7:30 or 3:30 game, that would have been perfect. But at any rate, next week, the exhibitions are over. Other than Michigan, it's nothing but ranked teams the rest of the way. And obviously, Michigan is, a great defensive team, certainly not a great offensive team.
And the mental hill they'll have.
Yeah, the mental idea, the mental block. Can we actually beat this team? That's what they're going to find out about in a couple weeks. But this one is first, so they got to take care of business here against the purple and white tomorrow, and go from there.
Yeah, for me, as long as they're dialed in like they were a week ago, this should be fine. You can read more of our thoughts and predictions on the roundtable, which went up early this afternoon on Bucknuts. This is Friday that we're recording this. We're going to get out of here because they're going to kick us out soon. But Steve, thanks for jumping on with me. I'm sorry this was a shorter version of the happy hour than we normally do. As I said, we'll get back to next week, but go over to Bucknuts. We've got plenty of stuff from this week and still more that will be up before tomorrow's game. So thank you guys. This is where it's going to happen tomorrow. Should be fun.
Yep. Take care.